Hi everybody, my name is Ian and I'm joined here by my colleague Grainne, and we work together. We look after all of the school engagement activities for Lloyds Banking Group, which means that we spend a lot of time in schools and we spend a lot of time talking to young people about how to prepare for your interviews. And what we understand is that you've got some interview practice coming up. So we're here to give you some helpful hints and tips around that come from our experience about the best way to prepare for and have a great experience through your interviews.
Absolutely. So, the first topic that we're going to discuss with you today is all about the importance of researching the company that you're applying to. Make sure that you understand the company. Go on their website, their careers website. There's usually an early careers tab in there that will talk to you about the history of the organization, the values of that organization, and their mission statement, the products and the services that they offer to their customers and their clients. And that helps you build an understanding of the place that you are applying for and also what the expectations are in that organization. So it shows in the interview that you're genuinely interested in that place.
Yeah, and not only be interested in that place, but then they're going to want to know, are you interested in that role? So understand the responsibilities and skills. So if you've been given a job description or something like that to apply for, you need to know what that is, and also really think then about what makes your experience actually match those responsibilities and those skills, because these are the things that they're going to ask you. That's why they put them in the job description. Right, Grainne, our second area that we're going to explore.
Yeah, so the second area then is all about preparation and preparing your answers for that interview. Like common questions is a great place to start. Practice answers to common interview questions. Things that they will ask you will always include tell me about yourself or why do you want this role or this apprenticeship. So be really clear that you understand who you are, what's important to you, your own personal brand and values, and why is it that you want to apply for this particular apprenticeship or this particular job. And then also think about things like your strengths and weaknesses. You'll absolutely be asked to share examples of what you're strongest at, what your development areas might be, and thinking about the question bank that you might be asked. Some organisations are happy to share the questions upfront. If not, then what you can do is use ChatGPT, Copilot, or other AI tools and ask them just to tell you some common questions that you'll be asked in this particular job area.
Yeah. And one of the things, Grainne, I think is you'll always get that question of tell me a bit about yourself. So that's one that you can prepare in advance. And one things that employers really want to know is about just they want to know about you. So, prepare your answer that's actually very personal to you. And remember that you're only in the interview because you've already got through the first stage. They've read your CV, they've read your application form, they've invited you to the interview for a reason. So well done you for managing to get through to that first stage. Anyway, Grainne, one of the things that what if you get asked about weaknesses then? Because this is something that people do struggle with when somebody says, tell me about a time when something didn't go so well. And you're going, do I want to tell somebody that I'm actually not so good at something? How do you handle those kind of questions?
So from my personal experience, what I like to do is pick something that I have been working on in terms of trying to build a skill or a development. So something that doesn't naturally come to you that you know is important in the role. And being able to articulate why you think that skill is important to build, but also being open and transparent about your willingness to build that skill and what steps you have taken on that journey already shows genuine authenticity, and it just makes you more human, more relatable. Coming up with things like, I don't know what my weaknesses are, can come across as a little bit lacking in self awareness or a bit egotistical. So, really genuinely soul search and think about what are the things that I enjoy or I want to get better at, and what have I already done to get better.
Yeah, and that's a great way to look at it, isn't it? Which is, I'm at this level at the moment, but I would like to be better at it. And of course, part of joining that employer is about what training that they're going to offer you to help you become better at those things. Now, in terms of helping you with the story, one of the things that we're big fans of here at Lloyd's is about the STAR method. You might call it the CAR method. They're kind of like similar things as well. So we'll use STAR, and it stands for situation, task, action, and results. So once again, situation, task, action, and results. So just breaking that down in terms of how to tell a story, it just helps you to do storytelling. So the situation, your interviewer hasn't lived with you for all of their lives, so you may need to help them to understand what is the situation, what is the context. Just help set the story. You don't need to spend an awful lot of time on this one, but you do need to kind of help them imagine where it is that they are, help them understand the nature of the challenge. So if there was a task that you have to do, or let's say, for example, you're asked a question about, can you tell me about a time when you had to lead a group of people to arrive at a common decision? Help them understand the situation, explain what the task is, be really clear about what's the level of challenge in that task. So if it was, I had to work with 5 people, they all had different opinions, don't leave that alone, right? Make sure the interviewer knows the problem was everybody wanted to do something really different in there. So that's your task in there. The action is what you did, as well as some of the things that you did as a team as well. But make sure that the difference that you personally made comes through in there. And the last bit is the result, the so what. So what difference did that make? And then the last bit, I think, picking up on what Grainne had said, which is really good, is if there are any things that you've learnt from that experience that meant that the next time round you went and did things differently because you had that experience, then that's a nice little bonus that you can throw in there, because that shows an employer that you're learning and growing and able to reflect and move forward as well. So STAR technique, situation, task, action, result. Next.
Perfect. So we've covered the format that you should use in preparing your answers. Next topic, we're going to look at how do you highlight your skills and experience. So you may have touched on that when they've asked you about your strengths and weaknesses in the getting to know you section, but relevant skills is really important to demonstrate in all of your example answers in the interview. Even if you don't have work experience, think about those times where you've worked on a school project, you've maybe volunteered in the community or in a charity, or even hobbies that you have that help demonstrate those skills. We speak to so many young people all the time that say, I don't have experience in these places. And when we delve a little bit further, we hear that they have been in the Boy Scouts and they've learned to create fires in the woods when they've been camping. They've had to go and find resources. We talk to young people who are carers of elderly or unwell family members and how they have to use resilience to support those people during those difficult times. They are all relevant examples of skills that you can demonstrate.
Yeah, it's important to think not just necessarily about work experience, but all the things you do with the family. As Grainne said, maybe you've got to look after younger brothers or sisters or various other things that you're doing around the house. Maybe you even planned a family holiday or a day out or a trip or something. All of those things actually count. So what employers are after are also the what we call behavioral skills. So these are really important because you're going to go into the workplace and you're going to work with other people. So employers want to know, how do you work with other people? Now, we use a framework called the Skills Builder Framework, and that will emphasize qualities such as teamwork, speaking, listening, problem solving, your ability to stay positive when things don't go quite according to the plan, and your ability to problem solve and remain curious. There are lots of different frameworks out there. We use Skills Builder because that's the one that we use in Lloyds. Whichever one you use, you'll still be further ahead of most people by having a framework. And one really good tip from me, I think, is when you've got all of your stories together, is almost do a bit of a reverse lookup. So take another sheet of paper, write down the 8 behavioral skills, for example, in the Skills Builder framework, and then try to think about how your stories actually line up against those skills, so that whichever way the interviewer actually asks the question, you've always got lots of information available. And just on that note, I would say it's okay, in my opinion, to take notes in with you. It's very rarely are employers regarding an interview as a memory test. It's okay to take notes with you. And it's okay if you just forget where you are at a certain point to just say, can I just pause a moment and just refresh and recheck where I am and keep going? Because everybody gets nervous at points in time. Now, Grainne, one of the big questions that we always get asked, because as you can see from what we're wearing at work, is how do I dress to go to an interview? Yeah.
Absolutely. So dressing appropriately is very important. As Ian mentioned, we're very relaxed in our organisation. We'll often be in work in our trainers or jeans, very dressed down. But on your first interaction, you always want to put your best self forward. So professional attire, wear something neat and professional. Make sure it's clean and it's ironed. There's no wrinkles in it. It shows respect and seriousness about the opportunity. And making sure that you're not wearing any offensive graphic T-shirts, two-pack shirts or anything like that. That may give the interviewer a perception of who you are as a person. So professional, neat, tidy and clean is always the best approach.
And if you're not sure, I think it's okay. Just ask the organization how they'd like you to dress in there. And I don't think you have to go out and buy things as well as young people. In my opinion, it's perfectly fine if somebody arrives in their school uniform, if that's what you have and that's what makes you feel comfortable. It's really not the reason why somebody's going to be hiring you based on what it is that you wear. Just on that subject of how you look as well is also making sure that when you do things on social media, that everything you do on social media also is the brand that you want to project as well, because some employers may look you up on social media and obviously what they want to see is it's the same person that's in front of them as an interview as it is as the person that they can manage to find on social media. So do be thoughtful when you're doing job hunting about some of the things that you choose to post online. Now, Grainne, posture, body language, eye contact, there's so many things. If you go on TikTok, there are millions of videos that all contradict each other in terms of how to practice good body language. What would you suggest are some good ways without us all freaking out about, are we sitting on our hands or are my hands going all over the place? What should we do?
There are a few things to consider depending on whether you're having a face-to-face interview or a remote virtual interview over Zoom or Teams. Eye contact is really important. Make sure that you maintain eye contact to show your confidence, and it also will help give you some feedback from the interviewer whether you're giving them the answers and the information that they need. They can often show you back in their body language and their facial expressions whether you're on the right track and help you shift your answers if you need to in the moment. Posture is also really important. If you are sat in a chair in an interview room or even at your computer desk at home on a Teams meeting, make sure you're sitting up straight, don't fidget, don't slouch, and show that you're genuinely interested in the interaction that you're having.
Yeah, and if you have wandering hands, which can happen from time to time as well, a tip from me is just touch your thumbs together. Just stop your hands from kind of like moving around in there, because sometimes when we get nervous, that's kind of like where it is. So Grainne, at the end of an interview, it's normally the time when the interviewer is going to say, do you have any questions for me? And then that feels like a minefield, do you like, oh, how much is the pay? Do you give free food away at lunchtime? But also you're trying to think of what are actually really useful questions, but also quite mature questions to ask. So what do you think in terms of when that moment comes?
Yeah, so this is your opportunity to gather any further information that you haven't yet got through that process of application. So if you are not yet aware of what the pay salary is, the working hours, the location, ask those questions in the moment, because that will help you then decide whether this is the right job for you. But also thinking about how do you leave a lasting, memorable impression on that interviewer. This is your opportunity. Things that I like to do is think about what are the biggest challenges that hiring manager wants to address. And I might ask questions like, for the successful candidate, what will success look like in 6 months' time? And through questions like that, you're gathering some further information around what that employer is looking for that you might not have been aware of. And it gives you an opportunity just to reiterate some further information that you didn't get a chance to in your interview questions. And then
Yeah.
finally, following up after the interview is really important, and Ian will talk you through some hints and tips about that.
Yeah, sure. So 2 hints, just finishing off then on that one. So it's not over when the interview is over. So this is really strange, isn't there? So always good practice is to send a thank you note, because you'd be surprised that very few people actually do. So you can stand out by looking super enthusiastic. It doesn't have to be a huge amount in there, but thank them for their time, express your appreciation for the opportunity, 1 or 2 lines highlighting what really convinced you that this job is right. And you'd be surprised at how much that stands stands out because most people won't do it. And then the last thing I would do is whenever you're going into this period of searching for jobs, get yourself a little notebook, one of those little A5 notebooks. And as soon as your interview is over, write down from your recollection every question that you were asked. Because what you'll learn over time when you do several interviews is there are only so many questions that employers can actually ask you. And then you're gathering that insight. And so bit by bit, it always just becomes easier as time goes on because you look at your book, add to that, and then you'll realize that quite often the questions are the same questions. They may be just using slightly different wording in there. And it's just a way of feeling less nervous. So Grainne, well, our time is nearly up. So let's have a recap in there. So we had number one, research the company in there. Secondly is make sure that you have prepared your answers based on what you've done there and using some of those kind of common questions and your STAR technique in there. Make sure that you've prepared by highlighting and knowing what your relevant skills are to the job, but also your skills builder skills, your behavioral skills, your soft skills. We've talked about making sure that you feel comfortable in how you're going to dress for the occasion, and also whether it's an in-person interview or on camera, how you make eye contact, how you communicate, how you show interest, and how you develop good posture, how to answer those difficult questions at the end when they say, now it's over to you, and then those last little bits to finesse it around following up with a thank you note and making sure that you have made some notes for yourself so that you're better prepared next time. The last thing I think that we can say is it really does get easier with time. And if it feels nervous doing interviews for the first time, that's entirely normal. And we've all been through it, but it does get better. And remember that an interview is also for you. You're going for a job and you have to feel convinced that this is the right employer for you as well. So also just ponder on that one. Grainne, any last hints and tips from you, and then we'll let everybody go.
Absolutely. Just remember that you are assessing that employer and that organisation as much as they are assessing you. And if it doesn't feel right, it's okay to step out of the process at the end of the interview and let them know in your thank you note that maybe you're still interested or you're not interested any longer based on what you have seen too. And just remember, a good amount of nervous energy can be really helpful in an interview. It can give you that pizzazz that helps your personality come through, and just be genuine and authentic and try your best to relax and be comfortable.
Yeah. Okay. From Grainne and myself and Lloyds Banking Group, we wish you every success with your interviews. Bye for now.
Bye.